Thank you for coming back. We are talking about this question. Is the middle class disappearing, and if so, why? We have with us today three folks who know an awful lot about this. We have Sarah Twitchell from Owens Community College, Terry Cluse-Tolar, who is from the University of Toledo. I got it right that time.
You did, thanks.
And we have Douglas Jombard-Sweet, who is the lead organizer with Move to Amend. Okay, you were saying.
Well, earlier we were talking about job creation and about how many corporations hold themselves out as the job creators. And when you really think about it, they only create jobs as a last resort. I mean, they're in business to make money, and they make money by not having so many employees. So, when they add jobs, it's only because they have to add jobs because they're need to create something. And they only need to create something because we in the middle class purchase what they make.
Okay.
So we are really, if you rethink about it, we are the job creators.
And there is a line of thought out there that says exactly that CEOs don't create jobs, that people actually create jobs. Because consumers. Okay, but then there's also a thought out there that says if the middle class is disappearing because of the burdens of debt, because of the losses of jobs, shouldn't there be a conversation with that group of folks about managing those circumstances differently? Don't be such an aggressive consumer. Go to a college that you can afford. Start at an Owens Community College. Be a manage your life a little differently. Manage those circumstances differently. Whose fault is it that the middle class is disappearing? Maybe it's the fault of the middle class. You were going to say.
I don't think we should blame the victim.
Just a question, I'm just the traffic cop here.
I teach in social work. That's kind of a thing we do. But no, I actually don't think so. I think we actually might get to a place very soon where the people who are putting the cars together won't ever be able to afford the cars. The people who are manufacturing, the people who are creating things will never be able to afford their product. Yeah. With that level of disparity, it's that kind of thing that ruins the middle class. Mm-hmm.
I'd like to get back to the concept of two Americas, because this is really, whose fault is it? Well, it might, be the fault of overconsumption because we've all been trained to consume, because after all, we're a consumer society. Mm-hmm. But when CEOs of corporations acknowledge in strategy that there's really two markets now. There's a market for the super elite, the high-end Nordstrom stores, and then there's a market for the bargain customer at Dollar General, and those are the two markets that are growing and that you want to be in. You're not in the game if you're trying to sell something at a Sears or a JCPenney, because that segment of the market is disappearing. So when you're assigning blame, you're looking at basically what's okay. Let me just step back and say all this money is getting funneled up to the top. What's going on? They always say follow the money, right?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Okay. So that money going up to the top, it can't all be spent on consumption. There's only so many yachts you can have, and so many houses. So where's the rest of the money being applied? It's being applied to the political process. And I think that's the big elephant in the room that we haven't been talking about here.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because that money is now, with the Citizens United Supreme Court decision that allowed unlimited spending and that on political campaigns, and that said that money is equivalent to speech. Now we have, in the last election cycle in 2012, the presidential cycle, it was calculated that $10 billion was spent on political campaign. And that's a huge amount. And what it basically has done, it has put legislators and elected officials in the pocket, or at least in the sights, in the gun sights of big corporations.
Lobbyists and big corporations and that sort of thing. This is a really complicated question, because a complicated issue, because really you all in what you present today actually are going to the core of so many of the the stays of what this country is all about. When you talk about the political process being damaged, that's what this country has been built on. When you talk about capitalism being a difficult issue in the disappearance of the middle class, that's what this country is built on. So how do you make a change here? How do you change those things? If you in fact think they need to be changed, how do you change those things?
Well, that's actually part of the whole project. Is the first part is education, and the second part is, okay, what do you do with that education? Where do we go from here?
Project. What project? Tell people what the project is.
The project is an inequality for all. I see it as a project. I see it as something that can help galvanize community organizing and to help the people who are being affected by this income inequality to actually have some kind of actionable things that they can do in order to try to reverse it and engage.
People, I think, have to first understand what's happening to them, and I think that, you talk about not blaming the victim. I think there has to be an acknowledgement by folks that they are, in fact, being victimized. And I'm not sure that there is that widespread, unified focus on that particular state of America at this point. So what we haven't talked about this morning is the screening, the inequality for all. That particular trailer that you saw came from a much larger documentary in which Robert Reich is a primary player, and it discusses all of these things and more that we have been talking about this morning. Right? Doug, you want to say a little bit more about that documentary?
Well, essentially, I haven't seen it. I think maybe Sarah and Terry have seen it, so they could give you a little more detail.
So it never came to Toledo. It was, released in theaters around the nation in September, and we traveled up to Ann Arbor to be able to see the film. So while we were there, after we got back, we talked to each other and said, wouldn't it be a really great idea to bring it to Toledo, and how can we do that? So we started meeting actually in October and joined with Toledo Area Jobs with Justice and Toledo Move to Amend to try to bring it to Toledo. And so we're hosting 2 free community screenings on February 20th. One's going to be at the University of Toledo on the Scott Park campus at 5 o'clock, and the second screening will be at Owens Community College in the AVCC building.
Yeah, we're going to give you more information on that before you leave. We'll put that information on the screen. What's going to happen at the end of this? Have you guys sort of figured that out? Are there next steps after the screening? Is there a way to galvanize some of this energy? I'm sorry,
one
go ahead.
actual piece that's happening after each screening is that Robert Reich, we're actually joining part of a national Educate Student campaign, if you will, with this being on college campuses nationwide. And so Robert Reich will be answering student questions afterward.
By telecast, though.
Right. We'll be live streaming him after everybody watches the video, and we'll be able to tweet questions to him. So he'll be
question and answers. So
right, and so there was such a good turnout that he's able to do this twice, and so it will be the time blocks. There's one after the event at UT, and then one after the event at Owens.
Okay. This is free of cost. Is it? Is it free of cost?
Yes, it is.
Okay. We've talked. I just want to summarize for folks exactly what I think I hear you all saying. In fact, and what you're saying is that what I hear you saying is that the middle class is my undergraduate degrees in social work as well. So what I hear you saying is that
very good
is that the middle class is in great jeopardy of being very different than we know the middle class to be, and that is because of the continuing lack of access, diminishing access to education in any real way. The cost of education has increased. Your percentage was over 1,000%.
Right.
Over 1,000%.
Right.
And that jobs are going away. Jobs are going away and being replaced by jobs which we didn't say. I think you were going to mention that maybe some of the replacement jobs are not quite the quality we're accustomed to.
Definitely.
Right? Would you like to say a little more about that?
Well, I think interestingly enough on college campuses, if you will, and I think we've seen a similar kind of thing on college campuses that we've seen in businesses. just kind of blowing up of administrations and nationwide trend to have classes taught by adjunct faculty members as opposed to like tenure track faculty or instructors. And so the lowest cost person and class sizes increasing, I think, is also a nationwide trend. So you're putting the lowest cost person in front of a larger group of people. At the same time, you've had more deans, associate deans, provost level people, and that administration level swelling and salaries swelling at that level.
I see. All right, I'm going to ask you this question. It's going to take far more time to answer than we have right now. So I just want a yes or no, remembering that you're coming back next week to finish this conversation. What would you say to folks who say that this is really just a way to increase attention to unions that are having difficulty in maintaining their membership? What would you say, yes or no?
I'd say the issue is much bigger than that.
I would think that would be a no. What would you say?
Absolutely not.
You're right to the point all the time. Hey, what would you say?
No, that's not it. And that's just one small part of the whole puzzle.
One whole, and next week I hope that we have an opportunity to talk about that and the whole right to work approach to this issue. So some of you are coming back next week. I can hardly wait. We, though, have to go away today, but we will be back in about just a little bit.